What is up, everyone, and welcome to another Fantasy Armchair Athletes live stream. This is your one-stop shop to out-research your fantasy opponent here in 2023 and well beyond. The preseason is gone, and it is extra important to fine-tune these drafting skills. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I will be in a draft in about a minute, and we'll get on that screen in a moment. But again, just wanted to restate some recent news. Jonathan Taylor, of course, did not get traded by the deadline set forth by the Colts. So now he remains on the physically unable to perform list and cannot play until week 5. So if you took Jonathan Taylor in the first couple of rounds or even first few rounds, I am sorry. He's missing a fourth of the season. This doesn't mean the dream is dead, right? It immediately opens the door up for you to roster guys like Zach Moss and Deion Jackson in that order. That is the depth chart right now, RB2 and RB3. Coming up pretty soon, I draft the worst team possible and hopefully build up a playoff team strictly through trades and free agency. The twist, of course, it is against you guys. There are 5 spots left in the league, so let me know if you want to join in on that by just going in the live chat or in the comment section below. If you missed this stream, we will draft in that league in the next few days. So now, a Money League draft. We're doing a $20 buy-in for a 10-team half PPR league here on NFL.com. And we will get that going here. There it is. I am pick number 8. So on the 2-3 turn, we'll see what I pull off here. Hope all of you are doing well. Tino, Mike, good to see you both in here. Tino says, let's get it. I got an hour till I go live. Need Corey help? Yeah, Tino, ask me anything possible. I'll just be answering questions throughout this stream pretty much. We are cruising. And Mike says he's got a question about a trade. Yes, Mike, this is live. Feel free to ask me about what that trade might be, and I will give you my best advice.
Your team is now on the clock.
We'll do some research mid-draft here, if need be. I mean, even with the pass-catching volume, I know this is half PPR. The sheer volume that we're going to get out of a guy like Austin Ekeler with Kellen Moore joining as the offensive coordinator, I like this a lot. I love the fact that he fell to me. So we've already got one running back in the first 3 rounds. Not sure if we're going to do double hero RB or just hero RB. If I can get CeeDee Lamb on the turn, that'd be great. I doubt I will. There he goes. Amon-Ra. Garrett Wilson would be phenomenal. Obviously, we'll have to wait a little bit longer before I can find a wide receiver or another running back here. But maybe I just wait. Because in PPR, it's more so about that sheer volume. I mean, we've got Josh Jacobs, who was just a juggernaut last year. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson, who had 1,100 receiving yards. The same as Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Garrett Wilson gets a huge upgrade at quarterback with Aaron Rodgers as opposed to that horrible quarterback room that we saw in the New York Jets. I think we're going to roll with Garrett Wilson here. It's half-point PPR, so we want a little more focus on the volume. Deshaun Watson didn't look too good last year. You know what? I have a pass catcher in Austin Ekeler. If we look at the talent that's going to drop down to us, we'll probably get in the Devontae Smith range. Hope you folks are doing well. I will answer those questions in just a moment. I'm going to go with the 2 juggernaut backs. It is half PPR. I think I'll have some trade leverage here, and then I'll swing around and get my wide receiver on the 3-4 turn. Maybe I'll double up. Tino, you've got the 2nd pick. Who do you take? It really depends. You're probably either going to get Ja'Marr Chase, Christian McCaffrey, or maybe Justin Jefferson falling into your lap, Tino. I would assume that Justin Jefferson, if this is just standard PPR, goes first overall. So as a result of that, I'd probably go Ja'Marr Chase. Christian McCaffrey is older. Ja'Marr Chase did miss a few games last season, but he was actually on track to beat his rookie year numbers. So I'd go Ja'Marr. I love Austin Eckler's involvement, but he's up there in age as well, and there are just so many competing bodies in that team. I think Austin Eckler's a solid pick too, but if you get like Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, anybody in that range is fine. I'd lean towards a Jamar Chase if this is PPR. And Mike Gandera says, in a 8-man PPR league, would you take Justin Jefferson for Barkley and Ridley? I went 0 RB, so my 4 receivers are Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Keenan Allen. My 2 running backs at the moment are Ramondre Stevenson and Cam Akers. So, Mike, if you went 0 RB and you went wide receiver heavy, I'm assuming you anticipated that you were going to have some trade leverage in the wide receiver market. And you're still getting a very, very exciting pick in Calvin Ridley along with Saquon Barkley. You've got Saquon Barkley, who was a top 5 running back last season, looked completely healthy, honestly had a career year. And you know you're going to have to use some of this. You'd still have a wide receiving core of CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Calvin Ridley, and Keenan Allen. I mean, CeeDee Lamb was 5th in standard PPR last season, so you still have an extremely talented wide receiver. I think that's a fair trade, for sure. If you're looking for depth and you went 0 RB and you want to make sure that you have somebody to complement Ramondre Stevenson, Cam Akers lost the job last year, but then, interestingly enough, right, he had at least 100 yards in the last 3 weeks of the season, so he's a bit of a wild card. To get the stability of someone like Saquon Barkley and Calvin Ridley, who I think honestly has top 15 upside, especially with that high-flying offense of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mike, I think you're getting what you signed up for there, and I think that you're getting plenty of value for Justin Jefferson. I say go with it. Tino, that's for half-point PPR. Yeah, in terms of sheer volume then, we probably still take like an Austin Eckler because he's going to be more ground and pound, obviously, than somebody like a Jamar Chase. Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey if he falls to you. Folks, make sure you leave a like and subscribe in the chat. We are doing a $20 10-team half-point PPR draft. I went double hero RB very early. Understanding the risk I'm taking, I'm going to still try and get some decent wide receivers on the back end. I'll be careful of my bye weeks. I've got 2 5s so far, but I've got a pair of top running backs. I definitely have some trade leverage if I want to go out and get an A.J. Brown. Or maybe a CeeDee Lamb in a package, depending on what the rest of my team ends up looking like. And we've still got some really solid options. Obviously, Chris Olave, a wide receiver 1. Michael Thomas's health is never really guaranteed. T. Higgins, a solid wide receiver 2. Same with Devontae Smith. Amari Cooper, the 1 in an offense that's been struggling in the pass-catching category. It's pretty much just run through Nick Chubb. But yeah, Mike, hope that helped you. I think you're definitely getting the bargain that you signed up for. When you go 0 RB, you're looking for trade leverage, you're looking to have the ball in your court, then you have, that's the thing I love about doing these draft strategies, when you can establish that trade leverage, you have a few days, before the season right now, we're still about a week out, you have a few days to ponder, who do I want? Can I go and handpick somebody in the draft? You've got 90 seconds, at most. Most leagues, it's 30 to 60 seconds. I mean, we are in prime position here to get a decent wide receiving room. And because I do want to make sure I have a decent amount of pass catchers, you know what? The rushing quarterback becomes increasingly enticing. This is 4-point passing touchdowns, 6-point rushing touchdowns. Obviously, I put an emphasis on the ground and pound in Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb. I went double hero RB. Because it is half-point PPR. Do I go and get a wide receiver and then swing around and get Josh Allen? I don't know if Josh Allen falls to me. I think I can wait around a little bit more. And, my sneaky lay back and let it happen pick is Daniel Jones. He will not go for a while. I'm going to prioritize getting at least something close to an elite pass catcher. We want somebody with volume. Big play upside. Devontae Smith, not so much last year. Amari Cooper, definitely. DK Metcalf, definitely. That's another bye week 5, though. I think everyone is bye week 5. Jeez. I still want to take the most talented guy on here. And, maybe it is a raw talent like Chris Olave, but core Poor quarterback play last year. It's hard to tell the whole story. I mean, that's decent consistency. He had his ruts. This offense, I think, is just going to be wide open for the taking. And I can still have some trade leverage if I want to go out and get myself a wide receiver. Yeah, he had some down days, but I really don't think that was his fault. And then Devonta Smith, obviously plenty of upside in terms of volume. 95 receptions. I think it's less crowded around Olave, though. And I really don't want that third by week 5, and then it restricts any type of flexibility I have down the road because I can't get a fourth. We'll go with Olave here. I'm okay with that. We've got a wide receiver 1. I think that'll be okay. Mike's going to run his full team by me here. Absolutely. We've got Justin Herbert, Ramondre Stevenson, Cam Akers, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mark Andrews. Beautiful team, even for an 8 team as well. Keenan Allen, David Montgomery, Isaiah Pacheco, Tyler Lockett, Antonio Gibson, Samaje Perine, Dak Prescott, Sky Moore. Wow. And yeah, Mike, I think this does make your team better because obviously the blaring weakness, especially in an 8-team format where you've got to go and get that elite running back, is the running back room, right? It's Ramondre Stevenson, it's Cam Akers. You waited a couple of rounds to let them come to you. And in a day and age where running backs who have the backfield to themselves are at a premium, we just have a prime example with Ramondre Stevenson. Damian Harris flew the nest, went over to Buffalo, stayed in the division. We thought it was all him. Seemed like a good 3-down back, compatible, had plenty of involvement, a great pass catcher. And then Ezekiel Elliott comes in and, ruins the party. So you're getting plenty of depth there. I love the backfield now of Saquon Barkley and Ramondre Stevenson. And Mike, you've still got some elite level wide receivers. I'd argue you have 3 top 10s. You have Justin Jefferson, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're going to get Calvin Ridley, who I think will be around that 15 to 20-ish. I would say closer to 15. Wide receiver 15 with the upside. We've seen him in training camp. I've been a little cautious because we haven't seen the guy play football in almost 2 full years. But he's being plugged into a phenomenal offense with a generational talent in Trevor Lawrence. They're not afraid to chuck the ball. I love the depth as well. You have Isaiah Pacheco. Obviously, CEH is long gone in terms of relevancy there. It's Pacheco's job. Tyler Lockett, just a solid option, and JSN is going to be out the first couple of weeks. He just had wrist surgery, so he'll still be the wide receiver 2 in Seattle. David Montgomery was brought in to be a productive pass catcher alongside Jahmyr Gibbs. I love it, honestly. Mark Andrews has been a top 5 tight end through and through pretty much his whole career. Mike, I think this adds depth to your team, and you need a little bit of that even in an 8-team standard PPR league, and you've got to have a productive backfield, especially with how much we are at a premium with running backs who do it all. Saquon Barkley is one of those backs, so I like it. Amari Cooper actually fell to me. This is just nuts, right? I picked a pair of bye week 5s, and the top 4 talents are 5. I think I have to take the third one here. I think I have to take the wide receiver 1 in DK Metcalf. He's in a better offense than Amari Cooper is right now. Maybe Deshaun Watson comes back, but let's go with DK Metcalf, who works underneath somebody who already did come back, and that is Geno Smith. What an amazing comeback story under center. Now we probably sit back and get a Trevor Lawrence, or I want rushing upside, especially in a half-point PPR league. I want to steal as many points as I can on the ground with a mobile QB. So I'm really thinking Daniel Jones is probably more realistic. Trevor Lawrence is going to give us more volume through the air, and I almost think that's enough to make up the deficit because he's going to have Christian Kirk, because he's going to have Calvin Ridley, because he's going to have Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. This team's going to be electric. But I wouldn't doubt it if he goes. Babjab, good to see you in here. Jonathan Taylor is an official do not draft for me. Injured last season. Stupid shenanigans this season. Yeah, Babjab, the dream's not lost. I'm probably going to make a YouTube short on this. The dream is absolutely not lost, but time is ticking. You need to capitalize on the fact that Deion Jackson and Zach Moss are not owned in a lot of leagues right now. Just handcuff them. You've got a starting running back in the first 4 weeks, and then Jonathan Taylor comes back, and we just need him to be decent, right? His draft stock has plummeted. That's all we need. We need Jonathan Taylor to be decent. We can go out, use that very last roster spot to get a Zach Moss, to get a Deion Jackson, who are still owned in less than half of leagues by a decent amount. I don't think the dream is dead. So we've got Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Chris Olave, and DK Metcalf. See where we're at here. Jonathan Taylor goes mid-4 still. So this person's still banking that he has an amazing 13 weeks, which you can. I still don't think it's bad to go out and get Jonathan Taylor, even a couple of days ago before this deadline was set and before it was announced that he couldn't play the first couple of weeks, or now first 4 weeks. I still think it's fine to take him here because he was going in the first 3 rounds. Just go out and get Zach Moss with that last pick and hope somebody doesn't poach you. Tino says, I thought you took Josh Jacobs. No, I've got Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Chris Olave, and DK Metcalf at the moment. Kelsey is the only tight end off the board so far. I would love TJ Hawkinson, who is stepping right into his prime. So we're going to queue him up. And I'm not in too much of a rush to get a quarterback unless Trevor Lawrence is still on the board. I don't know how likely that is. There goes Herbert. We're going to see some quarterbacks start to fall here. Late 4, early 5. On the 4-5 turn. Debo, late 4. I really think Brandon Ayuk's going to start to take more and more of those targets away. He's improved every year. Debo Samuel kind of got poached by Christian McCaffrey. Mike says, yeah, I like the trade offer too. I just started overthinking. JJ had 30 plus points, 7 times last year. Barkley had 25 plus only twice last year, plus the possibility of injury. That's what's making me overthink. And Mike, before you pull the trigger, if you really want to make that argument, go out and get a more reliable wide receiver with him. I'm not sure who else they have on this roster. Maybe go out and get somebody who's played football in the last couple of years, who has the same upside, but a little more stability than Calvin Ridley. Yeah, Justin Jefferson's by far and away the best fantasy player right now, in general. But you did go 0 RB for a reason. You've got some trade leverage there. And you've got to ask yourself, even though Barkley might only get you a couple 25-plus point performances, you have CeeDee Lamb. There's not much of a drop-off between those two. You're just going to have to slot somebody else in there. Looking at your team. Like an Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's top 10, right? But, Saquon Barkley is a heck of a lot better than Ramondre Stevenson and or Cam Akers. Here go the tight ends, right? There goes George Kittle, Mark Andrews. Even Darren Waller's in a pretty optimal spot. The Giants didn't go out and get a ton of weapons. They got Paris Campbell. They still have Darius Slayton. Obviously, the offense runs through the legs of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. But Darren Waller's had some impressive years. He is around 30. Kyle Pitts, I almost just refuse to take him because of the lack of, right, he's supposed to be the best tight end in the game at this point. Based on how highly touted of a prospect he was, it's like Bijan right now. If Bijan Robinson is not a top 5 running back in the next 3 years, people are going to be ticked off. And now they're dropping like flies. Honestly, fine with Goddard as well. He's been top 10 the last couple of years. Ryan, good to see you in here, man. Do you think I should drop Jalen Hyatt to pick up Zach Moss? My running backs are Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, James Cook. Nice. And Raheem Mostert on the bench, but who knows how reliable he will be. Raheem Mostert is 31 years old, and I honestly thought that the Dolphins were going to go in and get Jonathan Taylor. They didn't. Jeff Wilson Jr. is still back there, and A-Chain as well. It is a keeper league, which is why I drafted Hyatt late. Okay, understandable. I would go get Zach Moss. You could be in the same situation that we're going to see with Jamal Williams. Not as much of an extent of that because Jamal Williams is coming off a 17 rushing touchdown season. I think that the Saints are going to allow him to have a pretty involved role even when Alvin Kamara does come back. But I'm calling these situations comparable because Zach Moss is technically the RB1 for a fourth of a season. I think you can get a steal there and at least get some value out of him. Should somebody go down with an injury, you know you've got another starting back in your back pocket. I think we drop Jalen Hyatt for him. Tino says, 8th pick, I'm keeping Burrow, Chase, Henry. Who do I take depending on who's available? 8th pick, Bijan could be there, right? Bijan Robinson. We don't want to reach too much, but Bijan should be around that range. If by some grace of God, Travis Kelce falls to you, definitely do that, Tino. Running back and wide receiver or running back and tight end and wait on wide receiver too. I think you can wait a little bit longer on tight end. You know, outside of Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, and Mark Andrews, there's a bit of a drop-off. It's like them and then everyone else. I think we're going with somebody who's been a little more consistent. I know it's a good situation for Waller, but there's also a reason that passing offense just hasn't been great. They ran the ball a lot last year. That's why they made the playoffs. We're going to go with Goddard. T-Law, not off the board yet. I'm taking him on the turn, if he falls to me. Or I could go out and get a third flex. Ooh. Or I could go out and get my flex. A third flex. I meant third wide receiver. Which Christian Kirk is sneaky. He's technically still the wide receiver 1. I either get T-Law now or sit back and take Daniel Jones, who has more rushing upside. But T-Law could throw for 5,000 yards this year. Daniel Jones might throw for 3. He's got all the weapons in the world. I think he definitely has a higher floor. We're going to go T-Law here. Trevor Lawrence, Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf. Not bad for a wide receiving core considering we didn't select wide receiver until the 3rd round, late 3rd round. These Falcons players stress me out. Tino said, I know, but he's supposed to be an all-volume back, dude. When you're getting comparisons to Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley at the same time, there's a reason for it. Tino, let's also understand that the Falcons ran the ball 57% of the time last year. That's the 2nd highest mark in the league behind the Bears. They're going to use him. Ryan says, thank you. No problem, man. Good to see you in here again. If TJ is there, do I take him? Hawkinson? I don't think so with the 8th pick. So if you were in my position, you would accept the Barkley-Ridley trade, correct? I think so, Mike, just because you do have CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have 2 top 10 wide receivers on your team right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown is fringe. I might put him at like 11th, but you have 2 top 10 wide receivers. And I think CeeDee Lamb has an opportunity to take that next step. Not too worried about the supporting cast around him, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks. I think CeeDee Lamb's got a lot of opportunity here. So I would take it. You're getting such an uptick in production from virtually Cam Akers to Saquon Barkley because you know you're probably going to start Ramondre Stevenson as long as Zeke isn't poaching every touchdown ever. Hope you guys are all doing well. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if it's your first time here. And of course, if I am helping you at all, please ask any questions you have. We are doing a $20 buy-in for a 10-team half-point PPR draft. I got the 8th pick. I went double hero RB, and I think it's turning out pretty well. You've got arguably the best pass catcher in today's game in Austin Ekeler. It's, A and B, 1A, 1B between him and Christian McCaffrey. I get an all-volume back in Nick Chubb again. We just want those raw yards, and Nick Chubb, I can look over here, has been giving us in the ballpark of 1,400, 1,500 yards over the course of the last few years. I mean, he is super exciting to have on your team. We didn't really get what we wanted from Deshaun Watson last season. I mean, this is just too tempting, right? The guy's still in his prime. Then we sat back and got Chris Olave and DK Metcalf. Honestly, shocked that DK Metcalf fell to me on the turn, and Trevor Lawrence, along with Dallas Goedert. I'm pretty cool with where I'm at right now, to be honest with you. I need to go get another pass catcher. There's absolutely no way that Christian Kirk falls to me. If he does, I will gladly take that settled stack and have him and T-Law. I'm feeling good. This is a pretty deep team. I've got 2 elite level running backs. If I can go out and get a third in the 7th or 8th round, I bet you Khalil Herbert is still around. Yeah, very much so. We've got some starters hanging around still. Javonte Williams, he's got to compete with Samaje Perine, who definitely has some pass catching upside, but doesn't matter as much in half-point PPR. Rashad White as well. J.K. Dobbins, man. I want J.K. Dobbins to work out for me. I've picked him 2 years in a row. He just gets hurt so often. By 2 years in a row, I mean 2020 and 2022. The guy obviously, gets hurt. So, but yeah, Mike, I think that adds a lot of depth to your position. And even in an 8-team PPR league, you've got to have a better backfield than what you have. You went zero RB. You got plenty of trade leverage. You've got 3 top 10 wide receivers. You're going to be able to utilize that flex. We can shave it down to 2 and get ourselves a top 5, maybe even top 3 running back. Obviously, there is the risk of injury, but we've got to live a little bit when we have somebody who has the upside of Saquon Barkley. And honestly, they weren't using him as much last year at certain points. It's not like he came off a knee injury and was getting 35 touches a game. I think they're taking better care of him. At least I hope so. There goes Christian Kirk. Yeah, I didn't think he was going to fall to me. Deontay Johnson going a little early. I'm a big Deontay Johnson fan. 7th in the league in targets last season. Got no touchdowns. Not in the greatest situation because he went from Mitch Trubisky to a brand spanking new Kenny Pickett, but I'm not sure I'd take him in the 7th round, if I am being honest. At this point, I'm loading up on pass-catching receivers for sure. Pass-catching receivers on pass catchers. I need another receiver here. I need to put somebody in that flex spot who I'm confident in. And I think I've got my guy, hopefully. There's some sleeper tight ends. Pat Freiermuth, 5th in the league among tight ends with 6.5 targets per game last season. He gets plenty of volume. Babjap, what is the best position to choose from when you do draft? Towards the beginning or towards the end, especially in a 10 to 14 team league? I think anywhere where you have a turn is fine, Babjap. So I would say I'd much rather be in 12th or 13th where I can get a little more control over back-to-back picks and have a little leverage down the road to kind of increase my upside, as opposed to being stuck there at 7 where you just got to play the waiting game if we're talking a 14-team league. But ultimately, Babjap, I want to be in the top 3. I'm 100% willing to take that giant gap in between where you're waiting 17, 18, or in the case of a 14-team league, when you're waiting 24 picks, if you can go out and get Justin Jefferson, if you can go out and get Austin Ekeler or Christian McCaffrey or Jamar Chase, if you can get some of the guys in the game who are scoring the most and then go around and get, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown on the turn. I mean, oh my goodness, you have so much power with the turn, but you can also just say, hey, I had first dibs, I had second dibs, I had third dibs on taking quite literally the most talented and high production individual, if we're talking about a Justin Jefferson in the league. I want to be in those top 3. That's my answer. I'm going to go with the ascending Brandon Ayuk. He's gotten better each and every year. Deebo Samuel, part of his role is out of the backfield. It's being taken up by Christian McCaffrey. Let's go Ayuk here for our flex spot. I like that a lot. Now we got to go depth. Still plenty of starting running backs. Again, they don't have the backfield to themselves, or they have some red flags if we're talking about J.K. Dobbins and the fact he's only played, there he goes. He's only played 23 games in 3 years. Yeah, there's some concern there. James Cook has Damian Harris. Again, folks, if you are just joining, ask me any questions you have. Also, look at the ticker below. That is still holding true. We are doing a subscriber draft absolutely free. The twist, I'm giving you all a huge advantage. I am picking all backups in the draft, and it's my goal to try and beat you through free agency, through paying a heck of a lot of attention to injuries, and through the trade market. It's going to be 12 teams. We have 5 spots left. Let me know in the live chat below if you want to join that, and I will reserve your spot. LBR, good to see you in here again. Should I trade Saquon, Josh Allen, and Keenan Allen for Davante Adams, Derrick Henry, Deshaun Watson, and Michael Pittman? You've got to give up. Let me take this pick real quick. I mean, James Cook was averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. It was a reduced role. Rachaad White's in a horrible rushing offense just because that offensive line's bad. Javonte Williams coming off injury. Cam Akers kind of scares me because he lost the job last year. I'm feeling pretty good about James Cook. LBR, I will reserve your spot. Tino, we're still establishing the time, but I'll try and work something out for everybody, or at least most people. You're all going to have an advantage anyway, even if you auto pick, because I'm literally taking backups. Ryan, you're in as well. All right, so I've got LBR, Tino, and Ryan. Perfect. So LBR, Saquon, Josh Allen, Keenan Allen. Okay, so right there we have a top 3 quarterback. Josh Allen is finished in terms of just standard PPR. No crazy point format. Josh Allen has finished in the top 3 over the course of the last 3 years. He's gone 1-1-3. Saquon Barkley, when he's healthy, is top 3 to top 5. Keenan Allen, I think, is falling a bit off the shelf because he's got to compete with Mike Williams. He's got to compete with Austin Eckler, who is a top pass-catching back. He racked in 107 receptions. Okay, so then we trade for Davante Adams. You're looking for that wide receiver upside. Definitely top 10. I think he's going to drop a little bit with Jimmy Garoppolo in there. Derrick Henry, who is turning 30, but is still a volume monster. I would say I'm taking Saquon over Derrick Henry. Deshaun Watson, so you're looking for depth. And Michael Pittman, who I honestly feel like is not in the best scenario because Anthony Richardson's going to run the ball a decent amount. Yes, the backfield is now revolving with Jonathan Taylor going out. You can make the argument to me, and I'll buy it, that they're going to use the wide receiver one a little bit more. But LBR, in all honesty, I think, yes, you're looking for depth, but to give up Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley, 2 who are in the top 5 in their respective categories, in the quarterback and running back market, if we're just talking standard PPR, I don't love that deal. To go out and get somebody who I think is going to drop a little bit, but will still be top 10 in Davante Adams. Derrick Henry, who has virtually no pass-catching upside, but yes, is still a volume beast. Deshaun Watson, we're taking a huge risk there because he's coming off his worst career year. And Michael Pittman, who is in an offense with a running quarterback. LBR, I don't love that for you. I'm not going to lie. And LBR, if you look at, this isn't just me promoting myself, but if you look at the 5 wide receivers I would not draft, or even just not go after video, I dropped it 4 days ago now. I mentioned Michael Pittman's scenario, and I compare it to the scenario of Devonta Smith in year 1 with Jalen Hurts. That's the best case scenario. Darnell Mooney this year in the full year 1, the official year 1 of Justin Fields, went absolutely horrible. Cole Beasley was the wide receiver 1 for Josh Allen. It's not great. Considering Michael Pittman's output, he went over 1,000 yards last season. He's had pocket passers his whole career. He's had a lot of different pocket passers, but it's been Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, and Matt Ryan. I am firmly in the camp that Michael Pittman is not going to have as much involvement in this offense just because you have a quarterback with rushing upside and a team that is honestly lost and just squandering for talent right now. So LBR, yes, you're getting some depth there, but we've got Michael Pittman who's not in a great scenario for reasons I just explained. Deshaun Watson's coming off a career worst year. Derrick Henry's getting older, and so is Devontae Adams. You've got young talent right there in Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley. If you want to include Keenan Allen in trade, that's fine. If you want to choose between Saquon and Josh Allen, that's fine. But LBR, I'm not a big fan of taking 2 top 5 players at their respective positions in fantasy football for depth. Thank you. I wasn't going to do it. Also, is the draft tonight? It is not tonight. It will be in the next week. So I have Tino, LBR, and Ryan. I'm going to drop my Instagram link in there, and I need you guys to DM Fantasy Armchair Athletes, and then I will reserve your spot, and we can kind of communicate what times work for everybody. I'm going to try and make it work for most of you, but again, it's free. If you auto-draft, you auto-draft. I'm picking guys like Nathan Peterman, so you will have an advantage. But yes, I will keep you guys in the loop. Let me get you my Instagram link real quick so you can DM me. There we go. All right, so I have you guys reserved, but I want to make sure I am in somewhat of communication with you, so go in the live chat right now. I just put the link to this channel's Instagram. Direct message me, and we'll get your spot 100% reserved. I've got you in here. I just want to make sure I can reach out to everybody when I'm not live saying, hey, when in the next week works for you. But we've got Ryan Zibble, we've got LBR, and I have Tino. Absolutely free. You get to play against somebody who's drafting all backups. It's going to be one of the stupidest teams you've ever seen. It's my goal to try and show everybody that you can build a playoff caliber team through free agency and through the trade market. It's not dead if you have a bad draft, because I'm going to have the worst draft and try and prove that stigma wrong. LBR, I'm out of town next week, Wednesday through Friday, so I have to do an auto draft. That's fine. Yeah. I will keep you guys posted. We've got LBR. But guys, make sure you DM me on Instagram so we can reserve your spot. But with that, we'll have 2 spots left. Folks, if you're just joining, I have 2 spots left in the subscriber draft. It's going to be 12-team standard PPR. I'm drafting all backups. I'm going to try and beat you through the trade and free agency market. And currently, I am in a $20 buy-in for a half-point PPR. It is 10 teams on NFL.com. Went double hero RB, Austin Eckler, and Nick Chubb in that order. Got Olave and Metcalf on the next turn. When I got my elite level tight end in Dallas Goedert, he might be right below that elite tier, but he's been top 10 consistently. Lawrence and Ayuk. And then James Cook. At this point, we want to kind of just stack up on pass catchers. I don't think Washington's in an optimal scenario. I'm actually pretty high on Jahan Dotson because of what he did the second half of last year. Really started to take off. It wasn't an Amon-Ra St. Brown level ascension, but we're seeing more involvement here for sure. And we're just seeing more production. He was out for a few weeks, came back, looked great. Do I think he could take over that wide receiver 1 spot? I'm not sure. Do I think it matters? For a team in Washington that could very well lose 11 to 12 games, and that's just me ballparking it, I kind of like the situation here. They could go throw heavy with Jahan Dotson. Tino, what if it's so bad they can't even grade you? Honestly, Tino, that's my goal. I want to draft such a poor team that I just break the algorithm. I just break whatever they use to calculate that grade system, and they tell me, maybe fantasy football is not for you. Delete your channel, delete your team, get out of this league, and go for a walk. Tino, that's my goal. I want it to be that bad. Brian Pereira, good to see you in here, man. He says, Brett Maher. Yeah, you know what? I could do it. I could do it. I'm thinking about giving myself 1 starter. Don't know where it would be. It might be a kicker. But it's actually my goal once I have the date of this. By the way, Brian's in that league, so you guys will see him. Once I have the date set for the draft, I'm just going to let you guys pick my team. Like, I'll go out and draft Mike White, Antonio Brown. It really doesn't matter. Whoever's in this database, I'll do. Go touch grass. Yeah, I will touch a lot of grass. That's what the message is going to say. It's going to say, Corey, this team was so poorly drafted. And I'll say, don't worry, it was intentional, that you've got to go touch some grass. I'm not particularly opposed to taking defense here. We're in round 9, going into 10. It's actually running pretty thin. I think the Bengals secondary, relatively impressive. I'm not mismatching with or repeating bye weeks at all. We're going to queue them up. Jaguars defense actually held the fort down a decent amount last year. Towards the end on that playoff run. I mean, all things considered, the fact I waited until late 3rd to get a wide receiver and I still got Olave and Metcalf, not mad at it. Gabe's in here. It's all about the algorithm. Gabe knows what I'm talking about. Good to see you guys in here. Gabe, if you want to join the subscriber draft, it is free. 12 teams. I am drafting the worst team possible. I'm talking all backups, and it's my goal to try and beat you guys, or at least get in the playoffs, through free agency and trades. If you have been in this live stream for the last 20 minutes, you've probably heard me say that more times than you wish to know. So I'm sorry I'm being repetitive, just trying to fill this thing up. We've got 2 spots left. Our Bengals are still there. I don't want to repeat or anything here. That is 13. I have not used it more than once. We're going to go Bengals. Really a big fan of the secondary. I don't think you can move the needle too much on defense. I stream defenses a lot. If somebody's playing a bottom offense like the Colts or the Texans, I'm probably taking the defense against them. I'll rely on turnovers and barely any points. Gladly. Gabe says, I wish I had the time, Corey. Gabe, you can let it auto draft or you could just sit there. It takes about an hour. I promise. Doesn't take too long. We've got somebody who I think could ascend into the top 5 conversation for fantasy quarterbacks, still putting Jalen Hurts, still putting Josh Allen, still putting Patrick Mahomes, and probably still putting Joe Burrow ahead of Trevor Lawrence in here. Maybe even Justin Fields because of the rushing upside, especially if we can get some more touchdowns from him this year, depending on the health of the offensive line and the tools around him. So I'm not sure I need a backup quarterback. I might do it. Might do it. But right now my priority is just getting as many people as possible to fill into this flex. I mean, Michael Pittman is falling like a rock. Maybe these people watched my video, because I said I am selling on Michael Pittman so hard because he's in an offense with a quarterback who has rushing upside but wasn't proven as a passer in college. He threw like, I believe he was around 54% for his completion percentage in his last year at Florida. Brian Pereira says, I did a 16-team mock last night. That is a doozy. Totally lost interest midway. Lots and lots of fodder depth. Yeah, that's where you're going to start seeing like third stringers, right? I mean, 100%, Brian. That's where you really start to learn the names of the NFL. That's where you see a Travis Homer or, anybody beyond second or third string. We get shallow on, but you're going to get to know some names in its draft like that. But honestly, Brian, the fact you did a mock like that just to see how deep is the talent here, what are some of my options, you never know whose name could come up and whose name could get called with how many injuries we see in the NFL. So I don't hate that at all. I mean, way to go out and just have a little fun, right? Does get stale after a bit. Gabe's asking, what's my call on the yards run by Fields this year, right? So Fields obviously broke the single game record for rushing yards by a quarterback. And then he cleared 1,100 yards, one of the best rushing seasons we've seen by a QB. He's got DJ Moore. The offensive line is still hurt. I just saw word that Tevin Jenkins is going to be out a few weeks. There goes that, right? They went out and got Darnell Wright from Tennessee. It's still a work in progress. I think he throws the ball a little bit more because he has DJ Moore at his disposal. I'm going to say Fields goes for 1,025 yards. I still think he runs a lot. Wouldn't be shocked if it's mid-900s, but I'm going to say 1,025 yards. All you need is the offensive line to get hurt and one receiver to go down, Gabe, and we're basically in the same situation we were in last year when we talk about the situation that, or the scenario that Justin Fields finds himself in. Run-heavy offense, the run blocking is fine, but anytime you need a pocket to hold, it's not going to go well. Wide receiver depth is down. If somebody, knock on wood, right, like a DJ Moore or a Chase Claypool goes down, yeah. I don't think the Bears are that far removed from where they were last year. So they're an injury or two away from Fields going out and running the ball 10 times a game. Blurpy says, I did that Cup for Garrett Wilson dynasty trade. I like it, man. I like it a lot. We have a lot more guarantee with somebody like Garrett Wilson. Cooper Kupp is obviously going to have one of the best target shares in the entire league, but he gets hurt a decent amount. He's getting up there in age. Garrett Wilson put up 1,100 yards with Zach Wilson as the starting quarterback. Mike White was behind him. We saw some 2022 Joe Flacco, and Chris Straveller just dipped his toes in the water too. And somehow, Garrett Wilson was still top 25 in running backs. That is nuts. See, I like Garrett Wilson a lot this year. I think he cracks the top 10. We just put out our wide receiver rankings, our final wide receiver rankings before the regular season starts. So make sure you all put that on your to-do list and check that out sometime tonight. If you're drafting, if you're looking to make a trade, I go full-blown explanation on the top 30 wide receivers from a standard PPR format. So take a look at that for sure. Gabe says, definitely still going to be his instinct under pressure, so I 100% agree. Yeah, talking about Fields here. The guy has been under a ton of pressure. The offensive line not holding. We're getting to know the third stringers at some point. And, he had to scramble because he didn't have the best receivers downfield. At one point, it was Chase Claypool. Darnell Mooney was down. We were getting to know, Velus Jones, which I'm sure he's fine, but he should not be your wide receiver 2 or 3. So I still think he'll run a decent amount, but Gabe, I think the original plan is going to be let him show off the arm a little bit. Let him use that nice shiny weapon of DJ Moore that they just got. Blurpy, it was Kupp, Jeff Wilson, and 1.08 for Garrett Wilson, Khalil Herbert, and the 2.06. I think that's completely fine. Khalil Herbert's the number 1 running back in the most run-heavy offense from last year. The Bears ran the ball 60% of the time. I know that number by now because I've said it so many times. And I think he just went on this draft log. The fact that he averaged over 5 yards per carry, 5.7 yards per carry, didn't have too much of receiving upside. I would like to see more of that. We've got Roschon Johnson to worry about a little bit. D'Onta Foreman, I think he was just a really good budget buy. David Montgomery wanted $6 million a year, and he got it. 3 years, $18 million after his rookie contract expired. We already know the whole story on the shelf life of running backs. Whereas D'Onta Foreman is getting paid half the price, and he was a more efficient back on the ground than David Montgomery. I keep saying Fields is a Hurts 2.0 in terms of rushing as a QB, says Brian. Wouldn't be a bad option as a QB1. Yeah, 100%. You've got somebody with so much rushing upside. He's starting to get more weapons around him. It was kind of the same situation, Brian, with Jalen Hurts. He didn't have a whole lot of weapons around him at first. Devontae Smith was drafted in, did well his rookie year, actually had 900 plus yards on the receiving end. I'd say it was a pretty good experiment, and then they went out and got him, A.J. Brown. We're looking for Fields to make that leap, and you've got DJ Moore. You've got a top 15, top 20 wide receiver in the league on that team now. From a fantasy perspective, we don't question Justin Fields. He has so much upside. Blurby says, I am iffy on Herbert being my running back too, but Jeff Wilson was going to be that for me. I think, anytime you can take... Raheem Mostert is technically the running back 1 in Miami, and they don't exactly have the best rushing game in the world. They're going to air it out when Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle are healthy. Khalil Herbert's the running back one on a team that ran the ball more than anybody else last year. It was the worst passing offense we've seen since the Cleveland Browns in 2009 in terms of a passing yards per game perspective. So I'm not overthinking that one too much. We've got wide receiver. We've got running back. We went out and got our defense. I mean, I'm honestly not getting a kicker until like the second to last round. Handcuff running backs. Well, DeAndre Swift is the running back one in another run-heavy offense. We've got one by week 10. It's my starting tight end. Is Freiermuth? I mean, holy slept on, dude. This guy continues to fall. He was tight end 9 last year, and he had the 5th most targets of any tight end. I don't get it. Just a slept on name. And Kenny Pickett looked good in preseason. I hate to pull that card, but I don't love this range of players. Gabe Davis literally catches half the passes thrown his direction. Just did a video on him, too. Cortland Sutton's in a horrible offense. Brandon Cooks has been around. I think Brandon Cooks is a safe play, actually. Dak's going to throw for volume. Say what you want about him. I have Kamara, but gone for 3 games. And, you know, that's where you go out, and it's a little more obvious, right, with Alvin Kamara. A lot of people are drafting Jamal Williams. But with the Jonathan Taylor scenario, I've been telling people, go get Zach Moss right now. It is a no-brainer. Don't jump and get him in the 10th round, but get him with your 2nd or 3rd to last pick. I guarantee no one has Zach Moss here yet. It's kind of everyone's plan just to wait around. And he's questionable, so if you don't get Zach Moss, and if you're in a dynasty or if you're in a deeper league format, 12, 14, 16, go get Deion Jackson. If you are the Indianapolis Colts general manager and your franchise running back was out virtually half of last year with an injury, he was in and out, it was nagging, didn't look 100%, and now is out the first 4 games of this year, don't you want to see what options you have in the backfield? I'm not just taking a look at my depth chart and going, yep, it's Zach Moss. I want to see what Deion Jackson's going to do. Deion Jackson had a ridiculous game last year. Let's see if I can find it. From a pass catching perspective, don't tell me this guy's not going to be given a chance. He had 10 receptions. He caught all of his targets for 79 yards. And then he also went 12 for 42 with a score on the ground. It's not crazy good. He's not the most efficient, right? But he's got pass catching upside. So I'm taking one of those at some point. Unless I'm real comfortable with my situation. But if I'm a Jonathan Taylor owner and I got him in the 5th or 6th round, okay, you just go get the starting running back or backs. I wouldn't get both of them. Go get somebody for Indianapolis, or even if we just sit back and watch the first week, pick them up off waivers and go, all right, Zach Moss got the majority of snaps that first week. I think they're riding with him, unless he has a horrible day. Blurpy says, I have a good team with Garrett Wilson, Jalen Hurts, Travis Etienne, and Amon or St. Brown to have for Dynasty. I mean, you just named top 10 and then a top 15 in Etienne, at their respected positions. Garrett Wilson, considering the quarterbacks he had at his disposal, and I say that lightly, did phenomenal last year. Now he has a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. Don't care that he's 39. The quarterback play has to be better than it was last year. Jalen Hurts could finish QB1 this year, especially with the rushing upside. Travis Etienne's in a high-flying offense. They could win a lot of games. You run the ball late to chew the clock. There's his usage. And Amon St. Brown has just been hovering around that 10 spot across projections. That's where he was when he finished last year. TJ Hawkinson also left, so do the math there. Yeah, DeAndre Swift can't fall any further. I'll take him. I understand there's injury risk, but I'll take that injury risk in the 12th round. Did my browser just freeze? Okay. I have Josh Allen on my bench, too. Oh. Blurpy, was that you pitching the trade to me earlier? No, it was not. Okay. That is nuts that you have Jalen Hurts and Josh. Did you just take him on the turn? You must have just taken him on the turn. Or was one of them a keeper? Either one of those guys was a keeper or you took them on the 2-3 turn. Folks, let's try and get to 10 likes on the stream. Again, we are drafting in a league with a $20 buy-in, half-point PPR, 10 teams. Went double hero RB out of the gate. Eckler and Chubb on the 1-2 turn. And folks, we have 2 spots left for our subscriber draft. Absolutely free. Just tell me it is Dynasty. That makes a lot of sense. Tell me in the comment section, tell me in the live chat that you want to join our free subscriber draft. Here's how it works. You draft, I draft. The issue for me. I draft a ton of backups and try and beat you in free agency and waivers. I'm taking Nathan Peterman. I'm taking Antonio Brown. I'm taking the 4th string running back. I'm taking anybody in this database that I know dang well is not going to score points. And then from there, I've got to go pick up the scraps post-draft. I'll be live streaming my progress on this team a lot. Week 1's going to be rough. I might lose by like 50 points. But the goal is to pay attention and just show everybody, if you pay attention to these injuries going on, if you're looking at reports out of practice and training camp and leading up to a game, this guy just took over the wide receiver 2 spot. If you just do that, the cards are going to fall in your favor at least a little bit, as long as you're paying attention. I'm obviously going to have the best waiver spot as well. I'm just trying to show people who say I had a horrible draft, my season's over, that it's not over. Because I'm going to have the worst draft and try and get in the playoffs. And I'm keeping it 12 team. I feel like 8 or 10 is pretty cheap. I could go out and get some pretty decent players. 12 is going to be tough. 12 is going to be really tough. So let me know if you want to join that in the live chat. And then in terms of just the schedule of everything, posting videos every other day, YouTube Shorts pretty much every day, live streaming 3 to 4 times a week. We're going to have a small hiatus. I am moving into a new apartment about 2 hours from here. New job and all, so getting acclimated with just a new place to live and moving a bunch of stuff around might take up a day or 2, but I'll have consistent content out for you guys. We'll have filler content. I mean, Freiermuth, I might take a second tight end just for some trade leverage. The tight end market is thin. There's that select few up top, and then it's everyone else. Freiermuth, Higbee, and Johnson all falling this far. I hope everyone's got their tight end one, because I'm nabbing one of these. Oh, or do I get my handcuff in Charbonnet, who was a beast at UCLA? Or Jamal. I'm taking Jamal Williams. I can't believe he's available this late. This is 10 team, so I kind of have to remember that. Jamal Williams is going to be the starting back for 3 weeks. And he had 17 touchdowns. He wasn't brought in for his efficiency, that's for sure. I mean, in the low 4s is what he was averaging for yards per carry, but he was brought in for this. He had the most red zone touches on the ground of any running back. So if he falls to me, I'm taking him. We know he's a starting running back for 3 weeks, and I still think he's going to have a decent amount of usage. He was DeAndre Swift's backup until he just took off and broke the rushing touchdowns record in Detroit. Not the biggest fan of Antonio Gibson, just from an efficiency standpoint. Ryan says, what's your opinion on me trading DJ Moore and James Cook for Dameon Pierce and DeAndre Hopkins? I got a week 13 bye problem I need to solve. Also, go JJ and Jacobs on bye week 13. Yeah, that's going to be tough. Week 13 is going to be tough. DJ Moore and James Cook for Dameon Pierce and DeAndre Hopkins. Ryan, I'm assuming this is standard PPR. Dameon Pierce doesn't have a lot of pass catching upside, and at least in the small sample size we saw of James Cook, he has some. So I think you're downgrading there. DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins, I will say that. But he is in a run-heavy offense with Derrick Henry. I think there's going to be a change at quarterback soon. I'm not a Ryan Tannehill hater. I'm just observing the fact that Tennessee went out. They got Malik Willis in the third rocks there, and DeAndre Hopkins hasn't played a whole lot of football the last couple of years. He's been in and out. I'm not sure I love that. I say go get yourself a more stable back. If this is a standard league or even half-point PPR, maybe we go Dameon Pierce. But I think James Cook actually has a decent shot. Devin Singletary went over to Houston. Wouldn't doubt it if he still gets some more action. I'd ask for more, personally. We're going to take Jamal Williams in the 13th round. He's going to be a starting back for 3 weeks. He's got the touchdown upside for sure. So yeah, Ryan, I'd ask for a little bit more. I understand the buy problem. I honestly think you might be downgrading, though, in terms of from James Cook to Dameon Pierce. DJ Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, because of it is DeAndre Hopkins and he has so much upside, it might be a wash. You know, we could throw Colt McCoy back there right now and he could still have a 100-yard game just because you're going to rely on the seasoned vet at wide receiver 1. I'm pulling the same card with Adam Thielen. I think he's a great late-round draft pick. He's caught a touchdown and caught Bryce Young's first ever pass in the preseason, so I think there's a sense of trust there. Tino says, Corey, I got to go live. Have a good rest of the show. Thanks for all the help. Let me know about the time, and we got to get you on Tino's time. Yes, sir, we do. Lastly, everybody go and hit that like button and subscribe. Let's get Corey to 700. Tino's a real one, everyone. If you like WWE, if you like pretty much any sports, if you're a White Sox fan and you want someone else to suffer with, because they're going through it right now, just with the lack of production, their farm essentially blew up in their face after bringing everybody up. I mean, they should be World Series contenders right now. Go subscribe to Tino. He grinds. He is live every single day. I'm live like 4 times a week. Tino grinds. Tino is an awesome person. He also does fantasy football. So if you want another perspective, if you want somebody else who's going to answer your questions in live time, Tino's your guy. He is a stand-up character. He is a huge supporter of mine, and I will always be of his as well. 2 bench spots left. I typically take kicker second to last round because some people jump on kicker and waste, like in this case, their 12th round pick on it. I'm going to go out and get myself a Jamal Williams, right? Or a James Cook. Or not a James Cook, sorry. Or a DeAndre Swift. I see more value. But then others will wait until the very last round to get their kicker. So I'm a little bit ahead of them. But I'm behind the people who I think take kickers way too early. So I sit here. Just going to be careful with the bye weeks here. We've got week 13 once. I mean, I'm not going to microanalyze this kicker situation. I just want someone on offense that's going to drive down the field and occasionally kick a field goal. Yeah, Ryan, if you want to let me know on the side, because I'll be ending the stream pretty soon, what the other options on that team would be, let me know for sure. I would go after D-Hop with his upside, but Dameon Pierce, we can look him up here. I just know off the top of my head, he did not catch a lot of passes last year. And if it is a PPR league, I mean, I love someone who's going to get 220 touches on the ground as a rookie. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, okay, he missed 4 games. Less than 3 receptions a game. Which, it's not absent, right? But in a day and age where we have so many pass-catching backs, so many multi-purpose backfields where you've got, you know, look at the Packers, for example. I just think of that because I'm in Wisconsin. You've got the pass-catching back in Aaron Jones, Mr. Do-It-All, and then you got your ground and pound in A.J. Dillon. But even A.J. Dillon goes out and catches a few passes, too, and that's kind of where Dameon Pierce is. I would not consider 30 receptions through, what is this, 13 weeks, a heck of a lot of involvement. And we are rolling into the final round. Pretty balanced team here. Went double hero RB. We've got 3 on the bench. 2 wide receivers, but the extra flex. So we've got 5 wide receivers, 5 running backs, a quarterback. I might go get my backup QB here. Derek Carr's usually around at this time. I don't know. Daniel Jones. Are you... Oh my. Please tell me Daniel Jones falls to me. You might think I'm making a huge deal out of this. Daniel Jones was quarterback 9 in standard PPR. This is half PPR. But the rushing upside, it's sneaky. 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. That's an extra 42 plus 70. That's an extra 112 points. Yeah. And he didn't turn the ball over last year. Just 5 interceptions. A couple of fumbles lost. 3. He turned the ball over 8 times. He's not a name that's going to fly off the page, but if I can get Daniel Jones with my last pick, yeah, thank you very much. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked if this guy falls to me. Elijah Moore's in a new situation in Cleveland. I don't hate that, taking a wide receiver 2 in that group. Don't hate it at all. But honestly, I mean, no one likes Daniel Jones in fantasy. I don't know why. The fact he's still here, no one's really going too tight end. It's only a 15 rounder. You've seen like drafts with 16 to 18, but he was quarterback 9 last year. The rushing upside is there. I don't know. I'm a buyer on Daniel Jones. I could use him for some trade leverage. If he goes off, has a 25-point game, someone's quarterback gets hurt, and here we go, right? I could do Daniel Jones and James Cook and maybe go out and get myself a wide receiver too. I don't get it. Maybe people just see 15 passing touchdowns and 5 interceptions and get scared, but you got to understand, if you can find any quarterback out there with rushing upside, you're winning. There's teams out there that I've seen, especially in 12 and 14 team formats, this is only 10, who take him as their QB1. I mean, that's not crazy to me. Jacoby Myers goes. I just want to make sure I'm not missing out on anyone crazy in terms of Rashad Bateman, but he gets hurt a lot. The Miami backfield. Lots of running back 2s and 3s. Tyler Algier, man. Made a whole video on players I thought would be on the up and up. Tyler Algier did everything right. 5 yards a carry, 1,000-yard season, his rookie year. Really no pass catching upside, but efficient on the ground. And then they go out and get Bijan Robinson. I guess take the best player on the draft board, you know? But, wow. It's one of the reasons I'm kind of low on Drake London, to be honest with you. They ran the ball so much last year, and then they went out and got this huge running back prospect. That's been my argument there. A lot of people going, Corey, Drake London's going to do fine. He's going to explode. But to that, I say this team prioritizes the run. Drake London ran a 4.54 40-yard dash. The speed really isn't there. And we don't know the story on Desmond Ridder. He ran the ball 125 times a year through 4 years at Cincinnati. And he played a couple games last year. It's a lot of different variables. Jonathan Mingo goes. Need a backup plan if Mr. Jones doesn't go. I could go that high leverage situation and get myself another top 10 tight end. I mean, he's rostered at 92%. What are we doing here? And people have to understand, it's Travis Kelce, it's George Kittle, it's Mark Andrews, it's TJ Hawkinson, and then it's everyone else. And one of those everyone else's who is pretty close to the top of the everyone else category is Pat Freiermuth. I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double-digit performances isn't anything exciting, but that's the tight end market right now. There's no way. He went the pick before me. Oh, Daniel Jones. Okay, I'm not that hurt by it, but that kind of sucks. He was probably the best overall. Yeah, he was definitely the best overall on the all tab, so. Oh, that hurts. I'll take the underrated tight end. Good draft. Good draft. Excited, folks. Just a week away from the NFL season. We're live 3 to 4 times a week. We've got YouTube Shorts every single day. We've got another one coming out pretty soon. Make sure, again, that you check out the video we just dropped on the preseason wide receiver tiers and rankings. We go 1 to 30 with a full explanation of at least 30 seconds, around 30 seconds for each player. So keep an eye out for that. We really dove deep for these last couple of videos, and that's how it's going to be throughout the entire year. We'll exit the draft. Just going to look over the team real quick. I named my team after Justin Herbert from last year, but I don't have Justin Herbert. I'll have to change it. So, Trevor Lawrence, Austin Eckler, who was our first pick. Then we took Nick Chubb on the 1-2 turn. We went double hero RB. DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, all things considered, we've got a pretty good wide receiving core, considering that we waited till late 3 to go after him. Dallas Goedert, top 10 tight end the last couple of years from a PPR perspective. This is half point, so I got to get my stats updated on that. Brandon Ayuk is our flex. He's gotten better every single year. Had 1,500 yards in the first 2 years combined. 1,000-yard season last year, I'll take it. James Cook, backfield all to himself. Somewhat. It's his backfield now, I should say. Running back one in one of the most run-heavy offenses in the league from 2022 in DeAndre Swift. He's in Philly. Jamal Williams is the RB1 for the first 3 weeks with the Kamara suspension. We know his touchdown upside. 17 of them on the ground last year. Reliable wide receiver in Brandon Cooks. Had a couple 1,000-yard seasons in places where you wouldn't expect, like Houston, right? Where it's just a desert for offensive production. Jahan Dotson, I like that a lot. Really took over the last couple of games, or last few games of his rookie year. Pat Freiermuth. Tyler Bass and the Bengals defense. Stream East is bookmarked. Yes, Blurpy. Stream East is amazing. I have nothing else to say about that. Stream East is awesome. All right, folks. Well, that is the draft. Keep an eye out for some more content. Again, make sure you check out the 5 wide receivers you should not draft video that came out a couple of days ago. And then just earlier today, we've got a brand new video for all of you. Top 30 wide receiver rankings from a standard PPR perspective. So check that out as well. Doing plenty of research for you all. Blurpy says the GOAT streaming website at Stream East. I can't deny that, that's for sure. But folks, thank you, as always, for joining this live stream. Make sure you drop any questions that I was unable to answer in the comments section below. Like and subscribe to out-research your fantasy opponent this season. Stay tuned for more live streams and videos in the coming days, and have a wonderful night, everybody.